Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program.
Well, we're back again here at the Pin offices, and we're talking about the Wrestling Independent Network, the 25th anniversary of its first show, February 7th, 1992, at Martin's North Point in Dundalk, Maryland. And I am joined via satellite this week by Ricky Blues and his special guests, Ed Zahn, Jeff Capo, and Julie Blanton. It's been a pleasure to have them as our special guest over the last two episodes, and we'll talk some more about the Wrestling Independent Network and that big night in Dundalk.
Friends, welcome back. I'm here with Ed Zahn, Agent Orange, Julie Blanton, Jeff Capo. We're still celebrating the 25th anniversary of the inaugural Win Show, February 7th, 1992. 25 years later, you all still look as spry and as young as you did that night.
Well, at least I do.
Yeah, we're still carrying Agent Orange forward.
Exactly. Now, we have covered...
They've been trying to hold me back my entire career. Everybody tried to hold me back. I mean, there's conspiracies all over the place about how Agent Orange was buried in cards. They would throw me a bone here or there. I had to go all the way to Virginia, beat up everybody in Virginia, become the light heavyweight champion by beating up Jimmy Jaguar, then going ahead and capturing the heavyweight championship with a great feud with Nicky Air Hawks. And then finally, after becoming a champion in Virginia, I started to get, again, the respect that I felt I deserved here in Maryland. I was able to bring my belt to Maryland and defend it for all these different promotions that really needed a lift in ratings, needed a lift in ticket attendance. That just, I was glad to do my part. I'm really proud of everything that I did for independent wrestling back at that time.
Wow, I tell you what, that was a mouthful, Agent Orange.
He's been saving that up for 25
I
years.
think so. It's very frustrated. I'm glad you get that out there.
Experience tells you sometimes just let them hang themselves.
Who got you radio spots?
Well, now, I believe I did. Because you saw that talent. You said, who can we put in front of the camera that's really going to draw the attention? I mean, think about it. Even cystic fibrosis needed me.
Well, I thought you got the radio spots because he has a good face for radio.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's another damn shame. Think about it. Card after card after card. The best looking guy on the show, and they put a mask on his face because they just it was embarrassing to all the other so-called pretty boys.
Wow. Okay. Well, but in that tirade, we actually did touch on a couple points that we want to go through. We did in the...
You let me talk long enough, I'm going to get to something important and something meaningful.
And that's what happened. Because you really, when you think about it, we take a look at looking at all the things that from that night, Ed has said it. They had a game plan on how to move forward. And there's a couple people that I also, too, want to mention because they're extremely important, especially with help moving the ball forward. When I think about all the things that were done, we want to talk a little bit about what you guys did up at Arezzi's convention with Tim Walker and him actually being part of a fourth member, I guess, in cloaking of your team, him working as the real correspondent for the magazines behind the scenes. Also, I would be remiss, or we would be remiss, if we didn't mention what Mike Nichols did with the TV show to help us move in another direction. So you guys did have a plan. Mike. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You guys had a plan together to move forward. And that's what I want to talk about, a couple of those little things here. So let's go ahead and throw that out there about how you guys decided to move Win forward. A little bit about that. Ed, what do you want to start with that?
Well, it was just the culmination of everything that I was trying to do at that point, and the people that were around me were in that point. You go back to even the very, very beginning with Mason-Dixon Wrestling Alliance and the whole idea of, you're creating some sort of continuity and storylines, and you're trying to create things for the fans to buy in and put on something that you feel stands above everything else. We knew with Win we had something. We had a long-term plan. I mean, the stuff that we were getting, these pictures that are laying on the table, Julie's brilliance in going up there and having everybody pose with the title. I mean, that was sheer brilliance. Nobody was doing that. I mean, hell, there wasn't even another promotion at that show, at that
I
convention.
don't think so.
No.
And then we had the loop. Remember, we had the little TV on our table that had the loop.
I mean,
Showing the program.
so we had a long-term plan for what we wanted to do, and nice steady growth, because it wasn't a case of we're just going to come in here and blow everybody out and we're going to do this month after month after month. That wasn't going to happen. I never sold it to anybody that way. We had something special that came together, and then the long-term plan was to continue to just build it and let the guys sell it themselves.
Okay.
And that was, and I hope Bruce agrees with me on this, because one of the big things was, and you hit on it earlier, I trusted my talent. I said, this is what you got. This is the story I want you to go, and you get me there. And you guys loved it, because everybody else was trying to be a big shot promoter and tell you how to work your matches and what to do and what spot. I was like, no. I have faith in you guys. If I didn't have you, would be on my cards. Again, setting that bar with just the talent was a big deal at that time.
Yeah, I think a lot of the talent wanted to come and work our shows.
Absolutely.
And were mad when they couldn't get on our shows.
Right.
Well, again, that goes back again what I said before about our depth. Our roster depth was amazing with that. And to go back what Ed said too, the key is long-term plan. That was the key to the whole thing. We didn't just want to go in and run a spot, just one show and then be done with it. We wanted to keep going. We wanted to get a circuit built up. In Maryland, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, we started running all those towns. And I think that goes back to, again, we talked about the evolution of the indies. We were going back to places that WWF or NWA weren't going to anymore. The small towns, the high schools, whatever it was, to do shows, good shows for people that they didn't have to go to the Baltimore Civic Center or the Philadelphia Spectrum or anything like that. You could go to your hometown, to your high school, to your local VFW, whatever it was, Teamsters Hall, and see a good show for a reasonable price.
Right.
That was the plan.
And a lot of times too, we would piggyback on with a charity. And so not only would we be bringing a great product to their neighborhood, we're giving back.
Right. Investing back in the community. Agent Orange?
Well, I was just going to say before, I kept trying to get it out, and I just kept getting interrupted. But
Thank you.
And here I was just about to give you credit and say, yeah, it was great to be able to go and not have somebody screw us up with too much storyline that they wanted to put us in. Just, here's how long you have, here's what we want to here's the overall story, and then to be able to go and sit back and spend the next hour trying to figure out the best way that we can beat the hell out of each other and entertain the crowd at the same time was, like you said, it was I hate to use the word special now that I've been insulted, but it was kind of special, regardless of who gave us the leeway.
And that was it. That was very different. Where you weren't, and I feel exactly the same thing. You weren't in the dark. You knew where he wanted to go. You knew where they wanted you to go and how to get there. And he gave you the freedom. They gave you the freedom to do it. The one thing that I
never told
always
me to yell less at anybody.
Right. And I will never forget when you guys, as the Brain Trust with Tim, got together and said, okay, these are the things that we're going to feature. We want Mark Freer as the Golden Phoenix or AC Golden on top as the heavyweight. We want the Cream Team here as the tag titles. You want Ricky Blues here with the light heavyweight. You're going to infuse Agent Orange here with this running role with these nationally, internationally known names. And you sat us down and told us that's what my ultimate plan is. That's what our ultimate goal is. You're going to get us there. You're driving the car. All I'm telling you is where we're starting and the point that we're going to get to.
Wynn provides top name independent talent like
From the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois, weighing in at 218 pounds, Hard Rock, Ricky Blues.
Well, you just made me realize something too about this show that I didn't really come to think about before. But when you look down this roster, everybody worked for me before.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew what kind of show we were putting on, what kind of show I wanted to put on, whether I was working with other people or not. So basically, coming in the door, everybody was comfortable because they knew what kind of show. I mean,
well, we were either comfortable or we knew what we were getting.
well, you know, I don't mean to brag, but I had fans. Jeff
That's
can
my
attest
job.
this. We had fans. You're right, and you overdo it, but it's okay.
Always have.
I know.
Always have.
It's part of the. It's
You
part of the
know,
business,
Over the
buddy.
top.
It's
If I ever knew when to stop, I'd have stopped already.
But that was another big contribution to this card this night because everybody knew what I expected in the kind of shows I wanted to put on. So that added to it because, again, all that previous knowledge and all that working together with all these people, they knew what we were trying to do and how special it was. And then to see for them as well, you know, this ability to go out and work in front of all these people. Because I don't know, how often did you ever work in front of a crowd that big?
Well, you know, there weren't too many opportunities, but I did.
You're
I did wrestle The Undertaker in Canada in front of 15,000 people, and you know what? I came in second. Undertaker?
So you were the first loser.
He finished next to last, that guy. I'm telling you. I was second, so I walked out of there with my
fair
head
enough.
held proudly high.
But on indie cards, how often did you work in front of crowds of that size?
Counting that time?
Yeah.
Once.
Once, really?
Counting
In all
that
those
time.
years?
You know, as Ricky said before, a crowd of 2,000 for an independent show was something special.
Absolutely.
You know, we were fortunate that, you know, usually we had a good house to wrestle in front of, but those nights when we only had 30 people, they still got the same show.
Right,
because we were doing it for a reason. We all love this business.
Right.
But you know, but getting the opportunity to be able to go out and actually be able to hear the crowd when you're backstage before you even get through the curtain, and you can hear the crowd from other people's matches, and then you go out and you hear that pop, and then when I would go out, and again that pop would just be that much more. But yeah, it was a great opportunity, and you know.
Now, I have a question for you two that worked the show. How did you feel about the first night of Win? When you were looking behind the
When we were
backstage?
curtain jerking.
Yeah.
Do you want to go first, Agent Orange? Or do you want me to go first since I opened the show that night?
I'll defer to you.
Okay. Which is a natural selection because we opened the show. Myself and Adrian Hall opened the show. You guys were hitting the home run. We set the stage. You hit the home run. For me, when I looked out, I was impressed. First and foremost, I was impressed working with Ed and Jeff in UIW because they had a good vision, and when that thing was running, that was a potent mix, and it was good. When they called me and contacted me, being the Brain Trust, and said, "Ricky Blues, we want to bring you in, and this is where we want to go with you with this," I said to myself, "Wow, this is something special." Then that night, looking out that curtain, I was like, "That's a good crowd." A couple minutes later, that's a real good crowd. And by the time that bell time rang, and we were going through that curtain, it was, I don't want to say it was a little intimidating because you can't show that. But it was definitely a different feeling that night that I just stepped into a league that's going to bring their A game, and they're going to give me a platform to make them better and make me better. So I was extremely impressed with what I saw. And I wanted to seize that opportunity. So Adrian Hall and myself, when we sat there going over that match and what we needed to do, that was one of the things that we said. We will not let these guys down because they've given us the ball to open the show for them and to get to give these fans a reason to want to stay from what's next. So that was how I felt that night.
It was great to be able to perform on that show. I'm sorry, were you going to say something,
No,
Ed?
go right ahead, man.
Okay,
This is
good.
your
Well, I was going
question.
to continue to cut you off anyway, but still. No, it was a great opportunity to be in Baltimore, where we're all from, where our families are from, where our friends are from, to be able to have people that were skeptical. I know the word of what we did in our sideline, and to be able to have them come out and see a show and go, wow, that was a professional show. That was a lot of talent on that show, and so to be part of that was, like I said, something special. And I really want to thank Julie for all that. And I think you're taking a lot of leeway with the phrase brain trust, but even these guys did okay. So I got to give a little credit where credit's due. Most of it, of course, is to me, but I will spread it around a little bit.
Okay.
You've been spreading it around quite a bit. 25 years later, and realize that I have not seen these two people in 25 years. So it's really great to see them and, bust cookies with Bruce. I mean,
I remember how excited Ed was when I walked into the room. He was just like a little kid in a candy shop again.
Yep.
To see me after all these years,
That was-
it was
that
just. It was a nice warm moment for you.
It was the loudest snore I had all day.
Well, I'm really sorry to hear that you're suffering from narcolepsy. And Jeff, did you put him to sleep all the time too?
Probably.
Oh, shoot. Anyhow, I guess the other thing is, there's a guy that has been around this a long time with me, with Jeff. I still remember the first time I met him. Come out of nowhere and talked to me in the gym, but turned into a damn good photojournalist and went to a lot of indie shows back then.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how he found them most of the times that he showed up at the places. But Tim, what did you think of what Wynn did that night?
Thanks, Ed. I appreciate that question. And my take on that first card was that Baltimore, Maryland was an area that could be successful in promoting independent wrestling. Up to that point, we didn't really know if independent wrestling had gained a good foothold, if it was going to be one of those areas that could really draw the fans in. It had had some moderate success in the past, but that night proved to me how well independent wrestling was doing in Maryland and how good the wrestlers were and how well the fans took to those wrestlers. The reactions that night were just off the charts. I thought it was a great crowd, a very, very well-behaved crowd, because there was no bleacher seating at Martin's North Point. It was all seating on the floor, and I didn't see anyone that night stand up and block the views of the fans behind them. Everyone was trying to be conscious of the fact that the sight lines were all on one level and to stay in your seat so that everyone else could see the action. So I thought the crowd was very well behaved, but at the same time, I thought the crowd was very lively. February 7th, 1992 was one of those great nights in wrestling history. It's certainly a night that I won't forget for the rest of my life. There was magic in the air that night. You could feel the excitement, the great number of fans that came out and supported independent wrestling. It was just a fantastic night from start to finish. Great matches, very well organized, very well put together, a very great crowd, very courteous, yet very lively. It was one of those nights where everything just kind of came together, and it just was a magical night, one that I'll remember for many, many years to come. What a fun time it's been to go back memory lane and talk about this great card, which really meant a lot in the history of Maryland wrestling. Everyone who was there realized that Baltimore is a hotbed of wrestling, and that independent wrestling could succeed and be very successful in the Baltimore metropolitan area. I want to thank Ed, Jeff, Julie, and Ricky Blues, who are on location, for joining me tonight here at the Pin offices. I thank you all for your contributions toward independent wrestling and making such a successful night on February 7th, 1992. It's hard to believe it's 25 years. It seems like it's gone just like that. And the card seems like it just happened yesterday to me. And I want to thank each and one of you very much for your contributions and for all the hard work you did to make that first Win show a very big success. Thank you for joining us for this very special edition of Pioneers of the Independent Networks, where we ran down the very first Win card on February 7th, 1992. It's the 25th anniversary of that card. It seems like it was just yesterday to me. What a great memory. What a great night. I'll remember it for as long as I live. Thank you again for joining us on the Pioneers of the Independent Networks. Tomorrow night we'll be back to our regular schedule, where we'll talk about the birth of the independents. We'll go back down that concussion lane with Ricky Blues and myself, and we're going to talk about some Northeast independents and how they came into being.
What a testament to what you guys did 25 years ago on this very night, February 7th, 1992. Like I said, 25 years ago, you opened the doors for Win. You changed the culture of the perception of this business in the Mid-Atlantic. You gave the fans the formula for success for them and for the wrestlers, and you showed that this is a legitimate business that can be taken to a whole nother level, and here is the formula that I did it, and who is the benefit factor of all of it was the fans of professional wrestling. My hat's off to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My mask is off to you.
All right.
And
go ahead.
if I may, thank you to the guys that are in the business today.
Yes.
I walked away from the business for about 15 years. I'm back involved with the business, strictly out of the politics, out of the money. I just help a great promotion. But I have a lot of respect for the kids that are in the business today, what they've made out of it, and what they've turned independent wrestling into. And thank you for what you kids are doing today, and thank you for the fans that are still with the business, because it's kind of amazing to look at the destruction of the territories in 1983 and now turn around and look at what's going on now, and I find it's phenomenal, because to me the territories are back
I think so.
in their own way.
This business is cyclical.
You have a Ring of Honor, who's a national touring company. You have Shikara, which is a national touring company. You have PWG, which, I don't want to make it sound like I invented PWG, but I look at how they book their talent and how they run their shows, and they're doing something very similar to what we were doing, in that they're bringing in all this outside talent, matching them up perfectly, and throwing together some of the greatest matches we've ever seen. I look at what's going on in England. I mean, England is a hot indie scene.
Right.
Think about that. They've never had major TV since the 80s. Vince has never had a major network platform in England.
Right.
And look at the talent that's coming out of there. So I just like to say, 25 years later, thank you guys for keeping the business alive. And I'll say it to you again, thank you for keeping what we did alive, because I really did think it was going to be something that just disappeared and nobody would. Because I remember reading in Meltzer, and he would say, "Well, they drew 1,200, which is great for an indie show, and then we do what we do, and we didn't see anything about it, and it was kind of frustrating at the
Right.
time." But that's okay. Thank you.
And that's what this show is all about: capturing those archives, reliving them, and documenting them for history. Because, boys and girls, fans and friends out there, this is why we have what we have today. Because you had pioneers who were willing to step out of the dark and into a whole nother light. Again, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I couldn't have done it without.
You're
any of
Team
it.
effort.